Hey, welcome back, everybody. Man, I've been looking forward to this interview. I've met this gentleman before, Adam Wilkinson. He's out of the UK, and he is one of the top salespeople at Color Accounting, to which you all know that I am part of this family of Color Accounting and been part of it really since January. And able to find time in his busy schedule to have this conversation about this wonderful accounting and finance fundamentals course that will change everyone's life, especially if you're not an accountant. So, one, Adam, thank you so very much for spending time with me today.
Peter, my total pleasure. It's great to be here and to see you again. And yeah, don't hold the fact that I'm from the UK against me.
Oh heck no, I'm kind of jealous, except for the fact that that you are in the middle of a lockdown, and hopefully that lockdown ends soon enough, and you can get back to somewhat of a normal life.
Absolutely, we all need some kind of normality to return sooner rather than later, I think. So yeah, hopefully there's more and more good news on the horizon in that respect.
Yes, I hope so too. So, can you give me a little bit about your background, because you actually go out and facilitate the color accounting course with companies, with firms, with whomever. So you've got an accounting background.
Yeah, absolutely. And if someone had told me at careers advice at school or university that I should have ended up teaching accounting, I think I'd have run a country mile, right? So that's absolutely not where I thought or expected I would be, right? So in that respect, I'm a bit of an accidental accountant, like yourself. Uh, I always wanted to be in the music business, right? That was
Really,
my
really?
yeah. That was my start. So as an economics undergraduate, St Andrews University, golf mad, playing loads of golf up there, trying to get into the music business because I played guitar, I DJ'd, I wrote for the student magazine and stuff. I got rejected from all the music companies. So I thought, right, how am I going to do this? I thought I'll go and get an accounting qualification. Let's become a financial expert and go in the side door. So
Hmm.
rather than being in the marketing or A&R bit of the music world, I was like, okay, I'll go and be in the finance world. And and that's what I did. Qualified as an accountant. Worked at EMI for 8 years after qualifying. So that was owned Capital Records in the US, Virgin Records, EMI, Chrysalis, and so on here in the UK, Parlophone. Worked there for 8 years. Loved it. But then the company was taken private, and I was part of that deal to sell the company. So we delisted it. It got sold into private equity. I was then finance director of a few different companies in the media space and the tech space here in the UK and across Europe, and just reached a point where I felt, I think, saturated with that role. Always wanted to be a finance director, but then getting there, it didn't feel like it was the right thing for me. I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't living the life I wanted to. And very much by chance at that point in time, I met Peter Frampton, the founder of Color Accounting. Just thought, heck, this is interesting, and just jumped ship.
And that was in 2013?
Yeah, 2013, exactly,
2013.
exactly.
And you've been, I like the fact you said you never thought you'd be teaching accounting. And I was laughing to myself because I had that same thing. I never in my wildest dreams ever thought I would really enjoy teaching the foreign language of accounting.
Yeah, exactly. It was completely anomalous to who I was when I was deciding on those career steps and where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. But when I realized I wanted to change from doing the accounting, heck, by that point, you've got almost 15 years experience of accounting. So it's very difficult to change wholeheartedly to something else.
Hmm.
So I had to use my skills and knowledge and experience in a new and different way. And color accounting is perfect for that.
So you definitely have a passion for teaching accounting and teaching it so non-accountants can have a better understanding, correct?
Yeah, exactly right. That's it's a very broad umbrella and we don't particularly like it, but it's finance for non-finance managers in that sense, right? In one
Right,
way. There's
right.
many ways color accounting can be used and applied, but that's our finance and accounting fundamentals course is designed to teach everyone who doesn't understand accounting how it works, because when they understand accounting, they can understand finance, they can understand numbers, and they can understand their business. So yes, giving those non-accountants a chance.
So those non-accountants who are in my audience right now, who have just their eyes are about half shut because they go, "Wait a minute, this guy's talking about accounting, teaching accounting," and we know the stereotype, the stigma about, "Oh, I got to go to an accounting course. I'd rather have a tooth pulled without Novocaine." What is it about color accounting that it's not that? It's the complete opposite of that because the way color accounting is taught, it's not taught the way it's taught at the university.
Yeah, completely. And that's the most important thing about color accounting is that problem that people, as soon as you start talking about accounting, they do switch off. Everyone thinks accounting is terribly dull and tedious. It's got an image problem, right? Accounting
Yes.
totally has an image problem. Part of that, the reason why people give up or switch off with accounting is that the way it has been taught, always and traditionally, is technical and abstract and non-intuitive, right? And it's been taught that way for hundreds of years. And people are confronted with jargon, confronted with complexity that feels beyond them. And so people switch off. And the reason and the way that color accounting is the complete opposite of that is because we make it visual, right? There's no T account in sight. There's no debits or credits or all of this stuff that is just an incomprehensible wall for people. And by making it visual, we've quite literally distilled accounting down to its simplest elements. And we can therefore make people just break through and understand this stuff in a really simple and easy way so that they feel like they can get it, so that they do get it, and so that they finally grasp stuff that's always been beyond them.
I still remember March of last year when I was sitting through the demonstration. Craig was there and Mark was there. And as they start, at one point I was bouncing up and down on my chair. There's like 20 people in the room, and I'm just sitting there going. And I think Mark stopped it. Are you okay, Peter? And I went, I've taught accounting. I know how. I've tried to make it fun, but this is the secret sauce for people to get it that I've been searching for. It's like I found the holy grail in teaching accounting when I was introduced to the color accounting system.
That is literally it. I love it. Secret sauce and the Holy Grail. It's a huge breakthrough in giving people access to accounting, right? And we're not doing that for them to become accountants, right? It's not about
Right,
that.
right.
It's about them being able to understand financial information, because every piece of financial information you look at, it has come from the accounts. So to understand it properly, you need to understand how accounting works. Without that, you can be grasping at straws. And it's just this ability to give people access to something they didn't see before that is that secret sauce you're talking about. And I feel the same as you. I was jumping up and down and bouncing around. It becomes an obsession, right? Color
Right.
accounting. Like, how can something that was so difficult actually be so easy? It took me a while to believe that it was right because it's so easy. So you're suddenly like, why is this not been done before? And that's how it feels. I had a client last week. Was it last? Yeah, I think it was last week. And someone I sent at the end, anybody got any questions? And I'm expecting something technical about receivables or accruals, maybe. And he said, yeah, why isn't everybody taught this? And that to me is it in a nutshell. And he didn't necessarily just mean at his firm. He means everywhere out there, people need to have this understanding of how finance works, and color accounting does that.
Absolutely. And it is a global organization, it's literally around the globe. Uh, and this passion, it is. How do we get past that stigma? How do we get people have to just, I would just say, trust us to provide that experience that we're so passionate about in a non-academic technical way. One gentleman I'm talking with here in Columbus, he said he and one of the other senior managers, senior executives, went to accounting for non-accountants class, and it was taught in a technical way, but he said they got out of there and they said our balance sheet and income statement don't quite look like that internally, which got them all confused and stuff, and asked me, how would you address that? And I said, well, I'd want to know what yours look like. I'll sign a confidentiality agreement, but until I can see how you classify and put things together, then with that knowledge in the color accounting system, I can address it.
Yeah, totally. And part of the beauty and the power of what color accounting does is it doesn't get bogged down in the complexity. It's focused on the simplicity, right? So the 5 box framework that we know, Peter, the basis framework, which shows us the balance sheet and the income statement, and is the basis of all accounting, right? That's the core of our IP, that basis framework. And it gets to the crux of what accountants are doing. It cuts through all of the idiosyncrasies and the regional differences and the local reporting. One company does it one way, another company might do it another way. It cuts through all of that to get to the fundamentals that lie at the very heart of what everybody is doing. So
Correct.
whoever you're talking to, whoever you're teaching, you're having the right conversation. Whereas so many other finance courses out there start in the specifics, and they start in the detail, and that's going to be wrong for the audience because it's not necessarily the stuff they need to know or the way that they see things. And color accounting just completely removes that problem from the equation by coming at accounting from such a completely different angle that it fixes that problem.
So this just dawned on me listening to you. I'm sitting there going, that one client said, "Why this for everybody?" I'll even take it further. Why aren't even CPAs, CAs understanding the color accounting method so they can communicate the financials to their client in a simplistic way versus the accounting jargon that they always use?
Yeah.
They should be major firms, all accounting firms should learn this language so they can communicate it to their clients, and they still have the technical stuff behind them to do that stuff. But this is another way of communicating to those who don't understand. And the public accountants need it. My new idea is they need it more than anybody.
Totally right. I couldn't agree more. Color accounting, as well as being an approach, it is a communication mindset by making you aware of what other people don't understand. Right? I did my 3 years accounting qualification. I came out and I thought, wow, gosh, all these other people already understand accounting. And no, nobody else understands accounting. Right? There's this. Accountants are brilliant at being accountants. They've been trained to do. They're great doers. That doesn't mean they can teach or train or explain accounting because they haven't been taught or shown how to explain it. And that's a completely different skill set because you need to build up the knowledge step by step. And that there's 2 things that's unique about color accounting. There's the visual framework that we've touched on, but there's also the learning pathway that's embedded in our course, right? It starts from a completely different position from other courses, and it builds up that knowledge logically and intuitively. And that's the thing that so many accountants are missing, is this ability to explain accounting simply and powerfully. And that's what color accounting brings. It's that ability, because if accountants can speak to their clients without the clients being lost because they didn't understand what receivables are in the first place, then you can have a much better conversation with those clients. You can get into more interesting areas because you can push on past the misunderstandings. So absolutely, there's a huge gap and a huge opportunity for accounting firms to join us. We've started, right? This journey has started. We've got BDO coming on board. They're already on board in Australia and New Zealand, in Guernsey. Mazars are coming on board in South Africa. We've got a PwC partner in Singapore now. So this is starting. This process is starting, and it's going to be so big.
Wow. Can you give the audience an example of the simplicity of what you're talking about? This path that we take the audience through, so they do have that better foundation of accounting without being overly technical.
Let me try. The first sort of hour or hour and a half of the workshop is purely based on understanding what's going on a balance sheet, but also why it's going on a balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've been in a presentation at a room full of accountants. I gave them multiple choice and I said to the crowd, why does a balance sheet balance? 75% came back on the multiple choice as saying, because it has to, right? As in, because we know it does, right? Without explaining why it does or why it has to. And color accounting gets to that kind of question because all a balance sheet is doing is explaining the things that you have, your assets, and how you have funded those things that you have, which is through liabilities and equity. And therefore, it has to balance by definition because you're talking about the same number, but just in two different ways. Right? Think about your house, Peter. You own that house you're in?
Uh, Me and the bank.
Me and the bank, exactly. So yeah, same for us all, right? But there's the value of the house,
Right.
there's the value of the asset, and that's been funded by the kind people at your bank, plus you put in a bit of your own money.
Right.
Right? So that is your asset of the house is equal to your liability, the mortgage, and your equity in the house. It has to be equal. It can't be different. It's the same by definition.
Right.
And with color accounting, we use intuitive examples like this on our learning pathway so that people go, oh, that's why a balance sheet balances, right? I'd never seen it like that, but now, oh, of course it does, right? And then suddenly you're up and running because there's loads of these little breakthroughs that, I mean, quite literally, it's amazing that within it, when I was learning, it takes months to start to get your head around double entry, how it works, T accounts, credits, debits, what on earth's going where and why. It's just bewildering. But in color accounting, within one day, you get people doing double entry like it's the most natural thing in the world because they've just got these 5 colorful boxes in front of them. They know they've got to put the number in twice. And, you know, by the afternoon, people are understanding what deferred revenue is because they've got the intuition and the logic behind the accounting to be able to apply to a situation to be able to work out what's going on. And it suddenly makes the whole world of accounting easy.
It absolutely does. And the one thing that blew me away was how they taught the balance sheet. And if I took 100 managers within an organization and say, which one do you understand more, the balance sheet or the income statement? They're going to say the income statement. Which one is the most relevant? They're going to say the income statement. Okay, that and not the way color accounting teaches it. For the and down to the simple as it relates to communication, as it relates to nouns and verbs.
Yeah, very nice. Exactly. And that's a great glimpse of the course as well, right? We use new language around these things. Your balance sheet is the nouns, the things you own and the amounts you owe. And your income statement is the verbs, the activities you're doing that generate value or use value up. And it all boils down to some of these key elements and characteristics that we teach.
Yeah.
So people go beyond the complexity and they come through it into a world of simplicity. And I have that exact same response as you when I'm in classes. You put a balance sheet and an income statement in front of them, and they'll usually say 2 things. They usually say, I feel a bit lost or overwhelmed and a bit scared by all of this. But if I could say I understand one of them, I understand the income statement. But they don't realize that they actually don't understand the income statement.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the one that they're familiar with and
Right.
used to seeing. But if you then ask people, what's the sound of income? They all go, ka-ching,
Ka-ching.
cash.
Ka-ching. Yeah.
Income is cash, isn't it? There you go. I've got a question right. And they feel good. But income isn't cash. Cash is on your balance sheet.
Right.
Income is the work you do that gives you the cash. And it might not give you the cash. You might get paid 90 days later, right? Income is value. It's not money. And if you don't understand the balance sheet, you can't understand the income statement properly because they're inextricably linked and related to each other.
And along those lines, and I can still see Mark doing this. And I've always known that the purpose of an asset is to generate revenue, but I never was introduced to it in this manner. The asset has to be expensed in order to generate that revenue. There's this tearing up of that asset in order to generate that revenue, to generate that profit, to generate that cash back into the balance sheet. And it like I said, it's never been explained to me that way. And it's like, yeah, I get it. And
Yeah.
if you're putting an asset on your balance sheet that has nothing to do with the overall business, then you shouldn't be doing it because that
Yeah.
asset's there to be expensed to generate revenue to flow back up into equity and have that value circle going.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that visual approach of color accounting that enables that flow that you're talking about there to be expressed so clearly.
Mhm.
When people start to look at it, they're like, gosh, it's just one of these five things. And then they can see how it flows, and they can, everything about accounting and the color accounting course is to give them this platform of understanding their business, right?
Right.
You can understand business better when you understand how accounting works. A lot of people don't see that or know that, but it's absolutely the truth, because accounting underpins finance and finance underpins business. They're vertically linked and related and built upon each other. You can be a great business person and not understand accounting, fine, but you'll be a better business person if you do understand the accounting, because you'll have a better and stronger insight into the business performance.
Exactly. And just that little bit of knowledge initially. And I think that once they get that breakthrough, then we can start taking them down the path a little bit further and start having that financial conversation with the stories in the balance, the stories in the financial statement. And we as CPAs are storytellers about the health and wealth of an organization, and then transfer them into, well, we compare numbers, we create these ratios because they're trying to tell us the story.
Yeah, I love this angle and this approach, because it's totally true. Accountants are storytellers. That's what we exist to do, is to tell the story of how a business is performing. We just do it with a lot of sort of accounting jargon, and we do it in a very specific way, right? Accounting feels abstract or difficult to people because accountants do things differently from how people think it's done. But it's not difficult. It's just different from what people expect. And as we as accountants, Peter, like when you've been through all that training, when you've got the exams, when you see the world in a specific way,
Mhm.
and you see the world in a different way from how everyone else sees it, because we understand accrual accounting and all of that other stuff, but nobody else does. And color accounting is like a really fast track journey through that world, so that then suddenly you can think and see the world like the accountants see it. And you understand these principles that otherwise felt beyond people beforehand. You realize why income isn't cash, what's on the balance sheet. And back to the storyteller thing, color accounting shows people how that story gets put together. When you see how the story gets put together, you can read and understand the story, and that's empowering.
But I have to take a huge step backwards, back to the introduction of color accounting in the course. The first thing that we talk about, we're categorizing things.
Mm.
But then there's this has been the greatest workshop ever. I'm going to go celebrate. I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy me a pineapple. And the shopkeeper says, I'd be happy to sell you a pineapple. And I said, no, I want to buy a pineapple. You want to take that one and run at him?
I love it. Language, isn't it? Language is at the heart of it all. There's three elements to understanding accounting properly: understanding the structure, understanding the mechanic, and understanding the language. And the language is the big one that's in the middle of it and at the heart of it all. The language of accounting is a sort of a shapeshifter. It's become really tricky and difficult for a number of reasons. And in accounting, our words mean something different from the normal meaning of the word. Many words can be used to talk about the same thing, but you can also use the same word to talk about different things. And until you understand how language changes depending on perspective, It's very difficult to understand the language of accounting. And that's what you're at there, right? The pineapple example.
Right.
The shopkeeper is selling you a pineapple. The consumer is buying the pineapple. They use two totally different words for the same transaction. Now, that's an everyday example. We understand that. But that same thing is happening in every financial conversation. You get to start talking about leveraged debts, buyouts, and people start talking about the same debt in two different ways and using different terminology to refer to the same thing. You're going to get very confused very quickly unless you understand why that language is changing and what those words truly mean.
And I think it was brilliant on their part, because how many times when you teach accounting, you teach debits and credits, and they go, that's not how my bank account works.
Yeah,
Perspective. It's the
yeah,
perspective of the bank, not the perspective of the consumer. And that, I think that example of the pineapple and the perspective and was that big breakthrough in helping the audience understand, oh, I'm forgetting about the other side of this, the business
yeah,
aspect of it. Yeah.
totally. It's that, oh, I didn't know that thing
Hmm.
that color accounting addresses very naturally by building it all up organically from the very beginning again.
Hmm.
Right? I know before I'd met color accounting, if someone asked me to explain accounting, I'd have been utterly useless at it. Just, in fact, not useless. I'd have been unable to do it because I wouldn't have known the things that they needed to know
Hmm.
to build up the logic in the correct way. Right? I just wouldn't have been able to explain accounting properly at all. I'd have been lost. But with color accounting, you've suddenly got this new way of explaining things and conceptualizing things so that everybody can join you and have those breakthroughs and understand that world.
Because I when I used to teach it at the university, I used to love teaching intro to financial accounting. But if someone got it the way that taught at the university, if they couldn't pass that first exam, understanding accrual accounting and how debits and credits work, I would say you need to really drop this course,
Yeah.
because this. However, I think that color accounting should be even before accounting 101 as a 6-hour intro leading into it. Because if that happens, wow, we'll have more accountants in the world.
Well,
But I don't mean that. That was kind of. I was kind of. We would have better business people
yeah,
and
and better
understanding.
accountants and better business people. You're right. I mean,
Yeah.
this actually just links me to the whole point of like why do this? What's the kind of point? And it's like there's a number of different things. If you think about it, color accounting is now in universities. Right, we're still at the start of our journey there, but
Mhm.
3 universities in the UK, a handful in the US on MBA courses and so on. There's people coming through the system now that the only way they've been taught accounting is through the color accounting method and the color accounting way. That's phenomenal that is starting to be out there, right? So yes, it can be used for accounting courses and for teaching people accounting. We're doing that. But yes, it can be used in business, right? Business owners who have got small or medium-sized businesses, most of them hate their finances and don't own their numbers, and they don't have powerful conversations around their finances or with their accountants. And that problem goes two ways, right? Because the
Mhm.
accountants can't explain accounting, but because the business people haven't got any insight into how accounting works. Color accounting bridges that gap. And in the corporate world, you don't have to be a business owner to need color accounting. You could be part of a huge organization. I've got clients that are FTSE 100, some of the biggest companies in the world. And we're in there working with could be their sales people, their production people, their marketing people, because they've got finance meetings too. They've got finance responsibilities too. And their finance meetings are often, the worst meetings they have each month. And one of my clients recently, I was in there, and this guy was absolutely loving the color accounting course. He said, this is setting off fireworks in my head, because suddenly he was able to understand all of those conversations that he'd been in, but not actually been in, not been a part of a conversation. He'd just been a witness to a conversation and been lost. And we're trying to level that playing field with color accounting, right? So that everybody can access that information and those conversations and own their financial lives around that.
Oh man, that I've been in financial conversations only as a witness. That is, you need to patent that. You need to trademark that or something.
Well, it
That whole
happened right here, right now, didn't it? So there we go.
right. So it's very organic. So we're already putting the TM on it, but that phrase that you just used is very powerful
Yeah,
because now you're part of the conversation, not just a witness to a conversation.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh
There it
man,
is.
I got goosebumps.
I can
That's
see you jumping up and down with them. It looks great.
oh man, that's exactly what it is. So you've got these large companies that you're going in and working with sales, marketing, and it goes back to something that you said that every department has a financial responsibility to the organization itself,
Yeah,
but every department might think they understand that, but they've only been a witness to it.
yeah, yeah. They've been watching from the sidelines rather than being able to contribute to those financial meetings properly, because you don't understand the layout of a P&L and what it's telling you and what gross and net means. Most people are lost from the offset. A lot of people aren't going to admit that, and they don't ask questions in those meetings because they don't want to look stupid.
Mhm.
And this is an interesting phenomenon, right? Or an interesting thing, that it's almost a bit of an unidentified or an unrecognized need, because most people are bluffing it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to admit that they're bluffing it. I mean, when people come on the course, they do go, "Oh, I know I'm bluffing it, so I want to stop bluffing it." But making that breakthrough to realize you're bluffing it in the first place is the first step, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. They've been bluffing it. All right. And so just think about if they had a just a foundation of the understanding of the organization and how they contribute to the financial well-being of that organization, decisions will take a different course,
Yeah,
a better course,
a better
a,
course.
a better course. And so I used to be a banker back in the day. I used to be a commercial lender, and I would get bonuses on the amount of revenue,
Mm,
top line versus profitability. And I do know for a fact there's a handful of lenders who understood the game and would put a lot of revenue up here only at a loss
yeah,
because that's where they're being incentivized. And this goes to bankers, to insurance companies, policies. And are the salespeople giving away the company? I've got a friend, Ken Wentworth. He's Mr. Biz, and he calls it the silent killer of business, of not pricing your products properly in order to generate a profit.
yeah. I love that phrase. I've not heard that one. The silent killer. And it's embedded in the fact that a lot of people don't understand the finances or the economics of those transactions well enough to see the big picture, right?
Right.
And people need to understand the detail and the big picture to understand the business properly and truthfully and deeply, right? And and color accounting is part of that journey of giving people that, of giving that understanding, the difference between margins and markups, right? The difference between revenue and the amount of money you actually make and the cash in the bank. All of these things are different but related, and to understand the business, you need to understand those relations.
It is all about relationships. And another term that Ken Whitworth introduced me to is called yes, is your balance sheet a fortress?
Hmm. Okay,
Do
I
you
haven't
have,
heard that one, so explain
yeah.
that.
Well, how strong is your balance sheet? Can your balance sheet take on a pandemic and you can come out on the other end? Or is your balance sheet weak and a pandemic comes into place or an economic downturn or something happens and next thing you know, you're out of business?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
how strong is that balance sheet? And this system, color accounting system, will put you in that fortress mindset.
Yeah, totally. The fortress mindset. So you can withstand, understand, and stand up for yourself within that financial world. Totally. And there's a phrase I heard recently that's just dropped into my mind. Have you heard of psychological safety?
No, but I can somewhat kind of understand what that means. But let me hear your definition.
So it was some Google research and some Google work that they were looking into the performance of teams and the high performing teams versus the not so high performing teams. And they were trying to work out what made a team great. And they thought it was going to be the strength of the individuals in the team, that they've got the best scientist or the best coder or the best, the best individuals on there with the knowledge. It's not about the individuals. It's about how the team performs and communicates and works together. And they identified 5 factors that underpinned their best performing teams. And number one, time and again, was this thing called psychological safety, which is this ability to admit you don't know things, to admit your mistakes, and to always speak your mind and not be, accosted for being wrong or spoken down, or to have complete security in whatever it is you're discussing. And it strikes me that when it comes to finance, most people don't have that psychological safety. And teams therefore don't function and perform effectively around finance because they don't have that ability to communicate clearly.
Wow, that was not the definition I was thinking of. That's a better definition than what I thought it was. But I,
What was
I,
yours? What did you
I,
think?
I mean, just being safe, just not taking risks, and do it. This is the way we've always done. Why did the accountant cross road? Because that's what they did last year. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that Sally mentality, same as last year. That was where my mind was going. But you open up another can, and I'm going to circle back with you on that because it raised another something completely different outside the color accounting piece here. So as we begin to wrap this up, I wish you and I would just show just a little bit of passion towards this topic.
Like we said, accounting's got an image problem, right? Dry, dull, technical, boring. No, color accounting is just the complete opposite. The complete opposite. It's about democratizing it. The problem with accounting is that it's become the privilege or the reserve of the few, and most people feel excluded from it. And we're trying to fix that so that everyone is included in it and
Yeah,
everybody understands it. And doing that in a fun, interesting, engaging way, world can be a better place.
absolutely. And there's no way I could have said that any better. Uh, like I said, you've been doing this since 2013. You're in and out of organizations. You're in and out of different types of firms. You're in and out, and you're seeing that. When I did my first one at Westinghouse in January, when this group of project managers and engineers, when that light bulb just went off like quickly, it's like, okay, this is good. I mean, and you've seen a lot of light bulbs go off.
Yeah. And you know what? A light bulb has come on for me too. Because I remember going on, actually, it was a color accounting get together a while ago. And we were trying to find an elevator pitch or a really neat way of just summarizing what you do. And the story that was given to us in that room was a supposedly famous line that someone described their job as. When someone said, "What do you do for your job?" They said, "I chase runaways." There's just this little tiny line that's supposed to catch interest and to give you something that makes you want to ask another question. What do you mean you catch runaways? What are runaways? And their role was they would go in and find big projects that were overspending and underperforming. Those are the runaways.
Mm-hmm.
And they would go in there, identify those problem projects and fix them, right?
Right.
By reorganizing the priorities or the business objectives or cutting the costs, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
they'd go in and fix those problems. And so their little line was, "I catch runaways." You have now just given me my line. I've been searching for it for 6 years and I've never found it. My line is now, "I switch on light bulbs." All right, I turn on the light bulbs,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that is what I do day in, day out. When I'm having those color accounting classes with people, people are doing what you just said. They go, "Oh, I get it." They're having light bulb moments. all the way through the color accounting class, because we're giving them access to stuff they didn't have access to before. And so that's now that's what I do. I turn the light bulbs on.
You know, sometimes you can't see the trees for the forest.
Yeah,
I have been using that analogy like for years and never thought about it in the way you just did.
yeah,
And that's going to be my new line too. We all
yeah,
should use it. We switch
yeah.
on light bulbs.
I switch on light bulbs.
We switch on light bulbs. Yeah. And I think another aspect to it is take that about witness to the conversation. There's something in there that can be brought down to a few words that would be another type of elevator tagline.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. That's two things we need to patent then, isn't it? The
Yes, it
financial
is.
witnesses and I switch on light bulbs.
I switch on light bulbs. Yeah, man, I like that.
Yeah, I
Actually,
like that too.
I like that. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I dropped the pennies.
You dropped the what?
I dropped the pennies because you make the pennies drop for people.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Is that a
Uh,
British thing? Is that a British phrase? Maybe.
it might be. Did you say like pennies? Pennies?
Yeah, be careful how you say it, Peter. Pennies, like.
That's why I spelled it.
Yeah, pennies, pennies. So like you have cents
Yeah,
and dimes and
yeah,
quarters.
yeah, yeah.
We have 5 pence, 10 pence,
Oh,
and
pence.
when you
I
have
got it.
a light bulb moment, a
Mhm.
light bulb moment is also when the penny drops.
Okay.
So I drop the pennies. Oh my lord.
Oh my, that's the funniest accounting thing I think I've heard. This conversation right now.
Oh dear.
Oh, dude.
Oh, there's a job for your editing team right there.
I don't want them to edit that out. I want people to. Well, Adam, I appreciate. Oh, okay. Whew. I really appreciate the time. This has been an eye-opening conversation with a lot of passion, a lot of truth. How can people find you? They know how to find me. How can people find you?
Gosh, so great question. So I'm on adam.wilkinson@coloraccounting.net. People can always reach out to me on that email. At the moment, my web presence is just on the www.coloraccounting.com site under sales partners. I'm there on that page. And Color Accounting as an organization is shifting and rebranding itself to Wealthvox. So soon we'll be on www.wealthvox.com and we'll have our new brand and identity there.
And you're in the new book that has just recently been
Yeah.
released. I can't believe we didn't talk about that. And that new book is
The Joy of Accounting. So yeah, Peter Frampton, Mark Robilliard, our two founders, have condensed and assimilated and combined all of this wealth of knowledge and all of these insights of color accounting and got it all down in one final definitive beautiful book called The Joy of Accounting, and that's out there now in the world to help people get access to this. I was lucky enough to be a content advisor on that book.
yes, yes. I would I've been remiss if I didn't bring up that book. Well, I appreciate your time. I know it's about I think 4 o'clock there in the UK.
Yeah,
It's
tea
almost
time.
happy hour. Tea time. Yeah,
No, the
tea
pubs are
time.
closed. No happy hour, just tea time.
Just tea time. Well, thank you again, and I look forward to our paths crossing real soon.
I can't wait. I can't wait to actually see you in person and have a beer at some point when the world permits us.
Absolutely, we'll have maybe two.
Maybe two.